Hello friends, welcome back to my channel again. This is a recommendation video for beginner friendly fantasy books. So reading is kind of a dying art, people say. Most of the people are doom scrolling, many people are addicted to digital media and they seldom read. But there are people who badly want to change that lifestyle and get into reading and read some wonderful books, but they don't know where to start. So I thought that this video would be a very perfect video for those people who are looking out for books to read and in a specific genre. And I thought that I'll create a series. So I'm making the first video in that series, which is a beginner friendly fantasy books. And I will make one for each genre that I know of, so you people can benefit off from. So I have some 10 beginner-friendly fantasy books today to talk about. So let's get on with the video. Let's see what fantasy actually means. It means that fiction that speaks about speculative things of supernatural or imaginary things that are not there in the real world, especially magic. Magic is a prominent thing in most of the fantasy books that we read. So this is what a fantasy genre is. And I'm going to talk about those kind of books here. And the first book that I want to talk to you about is a book that I recently read, and that is called the Book of Heartbreak by ceren. And this is a YA. YA means a young adult. It's for the age group from 13 to 20, something like that. So this is a young adult book, and this author has written this book for the first time. Like, she's a debut author, and this is her first novel. And this story follows a girl called Sarah Silverbirch, and she has a curse that there are specific number of heartbreaks she can sustain. Only a few heartbreaks she can sustain, and if she gets past that, she will die. And this curse is till her 18th birthday. Now she is 17, and on her 18th birthday, if she can sustain enough number of heartbreaks, she will live. Otherwise, she'll die. That is the curse. And in the beginning of the book, she loses her mother, and there is a separate world called upper world, in where these heartbreaks and the gods are taking care of these heartbreaks and the curses and the boon and all those things. So she is figuring out her way to break the curse, and her mother has died. She's trying to make it not be a heartbreak, her mother's death. And in this journey, she finds a boy who is she's trying to resist to fall in love with, because she's expecting a heartbreak there too. And also she's reuniting with her father, whom she has never known. And there are a lot of funny and intense magical elements that are perfect for beginners. This book is toned down, and the world building and everything is really in a good pace. I loved the entire concept of this world, and I loved the ending too. In between, there are a little bit of slow pacedness, but nonetheless, I am very sure that a beginner would definitely enjoy this. And I hope you too, if you pick this up. The next book is a book that I read very recently. I just finished reading it, and that is a duology. It's called the Celestial Kingdom duology, and the first book is called the Daughter of Moon Goddess, and the second book is called The Heart of the Sun Warrior. Let's take a moment to appreciate these covers. Are they so gorgeous? Isn't this so gorgeous? I was so in love with the edition and the artwork of this book even before I fell in love with the story. So I'll talk about the first book in the series, because I only recommend the first book in this duology. And this book is almost 4 stars for me, and the second book was 2 stars. So even if you skip the second book, it's okay for you, but pick up the first book. The first book was very good. And listen to the premise. We are following the daughter of Moon Goddess. They literally live on the moon, and there is a kingdom called Celestial Kingdom, and there is a celestial emperor. And this emperor has been keeping the mother of this girl in exile in the moon, because she did something she's not supposed to do, and her daughter's existence is not known by the celestial emperor, but they are suspecting that the mother is hiding some kind of secret. So her mother has to let the daughter go and survive on her own for a few years, and this girl is coming out of the moon and staying in the celestial kingdom, and she's getting into that kingdom and making friends with the prince, and she want to get her mother out of the punishment that she is surviving all these years. And they are all immortals. They are all part of goddess and gods and goddesses. So they are all immortals. There are insane amount of timeline here in this book. and the relationship between the prince and the girl was really very warm and good, and there are a lot of twists and turn, and you'll be like, oh, at the edge of the seat when you read this. This was really a good time. But don't get deceived by the first book and get into the second book. Second book will destroy the experience that you had in the first book. But that book is so pretty that I had to read it, and I will keep this book too with me, even though I didn't love it. But look at the annotations that I made. I absolutely enjoyed the first book, and the second book was okay-ish, and I did not annotate it as much as I did the first book. So that's about it. This is a Eastern fantasy. That means that it is based on a Chinese folklore, and the dragons in it, fantasy should have dragons. And these dragons are not like the dragons that are depicted in the Western world, like Game of Thrones or something. These are like the celestial good creatures that try to do only good. They are inherently good in them. They don't destroy or they don't get into fight or anything like that. They are really good. That kind of dragons are my favorite. These dragons are also seen in the Priory of Orange Tree book also. So this is a Chinese folklore fantasy. It was really good. I enjoyed it so much, and I absolutely highly recommend you to check this out. The next recommendation is more of an author recommendation rather than a single book, and the author I want to recommend to you is TJ Klune books. And they are really perfect for beginner friendly fantasy. And the first book that I ever read from him was like 4 or 5 years before, and that was called The House in the Cerulean Sea. I don't have that book in physical copy with me now, but I have it with my sister, and she wanted to read it so badly because I kept ranting about that book. And recently it has been announced that that book is going to be made into an animated movie, which I am super excited for, and I do want to read that. I do want to watch that movie so badly because it is perfect for a Pixar Disney animation movie. And that book follows a group of kids, and all those kids have magical powers. And in that book, we follow a caseworker who has to visit the different orphanages, and he has to certify the quality and all those things in order for the kids to be safe. And this particular orphanage is holding supposedly all the evil magical kids. So he has a unique job to go there and make sure everything is all right. But he cannot stop himself from falling in love with those kids there. And it is all a cozy, warm feeling that you will get at the end of the book. And it is all so toned down. It is like a middle grade book for an adult, and you will just love it and have your time of your life if you read that book. And this book is the sequel to it. That book can be read as a standalone too. But if you want to continue to be in that world, this is also a solid 4-star book for me. This was also really cozy and warm and everything that I hoped for to read in that sequel. And it's called The Somewhere Beyond the Sea, and it's really good. I cannot recommend these books enough for a beginner who's trying to get into the fantasy world. This will be the perfect book. Also, you can try the other book by him, which I read 2 or 3 years back, which is called The Under the Whispering Door. And in this, we follow a guy called Wallace Price, who finds himself to be dead one day, and the Grim Reaper comes and takes him to in-between world, in between the living and death, and he can spend 1 week there and he can live there, and that is a tea shop. And how cozy that setting is like. So that in between tea shop is where the story is taking place. You will just fall in love with the characters, and there is a ghost grandpa and a ghost dog in this book which you will adore. They are all going to give you a wonderful time, and this also is a perfectly beginner friendly book, and I absolutely adore TJ Klune books from my bottom of my heart. The next book is a book that I read recently in the 2025, and I absolutely adored this one. And this is a part of a trilogy, and this is the first book, and I've read only the first book till now. And the book is the Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries by Heather Fawcett. And this is about a girl who is professor of fairies in the Cambridge University, if I'm not wrong, Cambridge or Oxford University, something like that. And she is going on an expedition to document and finish off the encyclopedia of fairies which she is writing. And this is kind of an adventure, a cozy adventure. This is very cold, irrespective of the design that suggested it's a spring book, but it is a winter book which is set in the winter. It's in the northern latitudes of the globe where the story is taking place, so it's very wintry, and they are in search for fairies, and she's trying to document all different types of fairies and their culture and all those stuffs. And there is a hate to love romance also in this, which is really good. I'm not a romance reader much, but I enjoyed the romance in this. And this book is really funny, so you will like have good time with this if you are a beginner, and you will enjoy reading this story. It has a lot of fairies. It has a grumpy guy who is like the well-off silver spoon guy, and she is only focused on work, and he falls in love with her, and it's all a very good time. I can't wait to read the sequel to this book, but before that I have to finish all my physical TBR. That's what is keeping me away from the next book. But this is a really good time when I read this, and I hope that you will also have a good time when you read it. Next is a book that I read almost when I started BookTube, and this was quite famous during that time, and it is still the best book for beginners in fantasy, and that is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And this story follows Nora, and she is trying to end her life, and while doing so, she gets stuck in the in-between of life and death in a library, and in that library there is a librarian who helps her navigate her path towards whatever decision that she wants to take. And in that library, every book is a alternative life that she could have lived. So each book will give her what if she made the decision of getting into swimming more, what if she made the decision of not letting go her first love, what if she would have what if her life would have been like if she made different choices in different situations. That's the kind of book this is. I was like feeling when I read this book, I wanted someone to make a movie out of it, because I would have loved to watch that movie. This is very visual in the aspect, and it's very fast paced. Each chapter is like a paragraph, some are sentence, some are just blank pages, so it will be very fast paced and very, very perfect for beginner. So you will feel like you are reading it really, really fast, and you will just get it over with this very soon. I just love this book, and I hope you will enjoy this too. And I think there is one more book coming out from Matt Haig based on this concept, and that is on a train, midnight train or something, if I'm not wrong. So that's about it. I hope you will love it if you check this out. The next book is one of my all-time favorite book, and it's been 3 years or 4 years since I read it, and I still think about this book, and it gave me all the things that I wanted in a fantasy book. And that book is The Inheritance of Orquidea Divina by Zoraida Cordova. And this is a story that follows Orquidea Divina, and she is going to die. She is very old now, and she's asking all the daughters and her lineage to come and collect the inheritance from her. But when they go there, she's already turning into tree. This is more of magical realism and fantasy, and it's actually genre blending. It cannot be categorized at one genre, but most of it, this is fantasy, because it has magic and it has fantastical elements. And oh my god, the story was so good that I love it so much. And you will fall in love with the characters, you will root for them, and just when you see that the story is a little bit slowing down, it will take a swift turn, and it will just take you off somewhere you least expected it to. I loved it so much. And this is also beginner friendly, because it's very direct in its fantastical description, and it's way good. If you love family drama, if you love reading about family bonding and everything, which I love in a book, this is the book for you. You will just fall in love with the characters, and you would want to get into your roots when you finish this book. Just highly recommend it. Check this out. This fantasy recommendation cannot be complete without me recommending my favorite duology, which I have spoken about on my channel n number of times, but nonetheless this deserves the spotlight, and that is the Divine Rival series. I think it's called the Letters of Enchantment series, and the first book is called the Divine Rivals, and the second book is called the Ruthless Vows. And you can tell from the annotations that I have absolutely adored this book. Adored is such an understatement. I devoured these books just each in a day. I loved it so much. The description and the world building and the setting was all toned down for a beginner, and I loved it so much because of the fantastical elements here are surrounded with the old things that I love so much, like typewriters, letters, and long distance relationships and all those things. which was really cute. And the love in this is not overpowering the fantasy. The fantasy is also equally good. So the story follows two people who are fighting for the same job in a newspaper company, and they are rivalry about it. And there is also a war between gods, and the girl Iris has lost her contact with the brother who has gone for fighting a war for one of the gods. So she is going to the war as a war journalist and trying to figure out what happened to her brother. And this guy is following her because he loves her, which you will get to know later in the book. And the war between gods is also really, really good. And I think there is one more book that came last year. I think that is kind of a spin-off from this tale about the gods war. In that, I'm not sure about the title. I'll pop it out somewhere here, which I really want to read. But this was really, really good. I keep thinking about these books, and this gave me the entire world to me when I read this. I loved it so much. The next book is a book from an author who is very known for writing fantasy books, but his fantasy books are all very high fantasy. But this book was really good. It was cozy and it was toned down, and it's perfect for beginners. And that is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. And this book is following Tress, who is in an island, and in that island there is no sea, but the sea, like the sea is there, but there is no water in the sea. It's made of spores, and the moment that spore gets touched with water, you get killed. It's very dangerous if it gets wet or something like that. That's the magic system in here. And she is in love with her childhood best friend Charlie, who is the son of the son of the king of that island, and he's been sent away just to get married off to some princesses away, and he gets kidnapped by a sea witch. So she takes on a adventure, a journey to rescue that her friend and her love of her life from that sea witch. And this is a story that is full of pirates, ships, and summery vibes. And there are talking rats, if I'm not wrong, if I remember it rightly. It's so good, and she's very fond of collecting cups. So that is her characterization. This is really good. A strong female character is there, and the fantasy, the world building are all really good. If you are a beginner, you should really check this out, just to dip your toe in the Cosmere world, which is what the Brandon Sanderson world is called, and he writes a lot of fantasy. If you want to go into other books of his, you can start from here. It's a wonderful starting point. The next book is called These Violent Delights by Chloe Kong. And I don't have the physical copy of it, but this is also a duology, and this is based in 1920s Shanghai, and it's kind of a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and it's about two gangs who are rivalry, and we follow two characters from each gang, Roma and Juliet. They both are childhood friends. They fall in love, but they belong to different rivalry gangs, and now they have to take up the gang's position, leadership position, so they cannot fall in love with each other, and it's kind of a forbidden love. And in the background, there is a monstrous dragon that is trying to kill everyone. So this is kind of a subplot. Fantasy is kind of a subplot in this fantasy world. It was really fast paced, and I loved the conversation. I loved the characterization, and the war in the second book was also really very well explained, and I had my fun time reading those two books. The first book is called These Violent Delights, and the second book is called Our Violent Ends. It ends good, but it's a spoiler, but it ends good, but it's not violent. But the story itself is really fantastical and nice, and I loved it so much. The last book that I want to talk to you about is the most famous book out there for fantasy, and especially in the genre cozy fantasy, and that book is called The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. And this follows a girl called Bika Moon. She belongs to a group of coven of witches, and they are all supposed to hide their identity as a witch. But what she does is she poses herself as a fake witch on the internet, and she posts online videos and such. So people contact her for a specific reason. One of the contact comes to her that they want her to be the governess for three little witches who are orphans now, and it is happening in a countryside England, in a mansion where there are three witches. She has to go there, take up the job, and teach those kids witchcraft. And she also falls in love with a grumpy librarian, and these kids are all so good. I got reminded by the House in the Cerulean Sea a lot while I was reading this. So I enjoyed this. I gave it 5 out of 5 star. I enjoyed it so much with all the annotations and tabs, and this is the best book that you will read. You will just fall in love with this book. I'm very sure. I don't even doubt it for a second. So if you are a beginner who's trying to get into fantasy, these books are really good, and especially this one is really, that is it, guys. These are all the 10 books that I wanted to talk to you about beginner friendly fantasy. And let me know what are the books that you have read and what are the books that you think that they are beginner friendly fantasy. I absolutely continuously, almost all the time, check out for fantasy book recommendations. So please drop in all the recommendations in the comments down below. I would love to know. I would love to chat with you guys, and I'll see you again in the very next video with the bookish content. Until then, this is Sushmita signing off. Keep reading. Bye bye.